читали в интернете, где он говорит, я лучше завершу карьеру, чем буду с ним драться. И я думаю на данный момент, что...
Do you know what the WWE would do? They would go with Dan Hooker.
Islam Makhachev has gone off on Ilia Topuria, blasting him for his hypocrisy for not accepting the fight with Arman Tsarukyan. Building on that, Josh Thompson admitted that he would have liked to see Arman Tsarukyan get the next shot at the title. However, he expressed doubt that the UFC will actually make that fight happen right away.
I don't think they're gonna. I would like to see Arman fight next. I don't think they're gonna do it.
See?
I don't think they're gonna do it.
That's why I said Dan Hooker.
But see, like for me, I feel like the fight for him for Dan
Arman?
Hooker.
Additionally, Chael Sonnen weighed in on Arman Tsarukyan's position in the division, noting that the lightweight standout has more than proven himself. Sonnen emphasized that Tsarukyan is absolutely good enough to be a #1 contender, and that his body of work makes him a legitimate, unquestionable choice for a title shot. According to Sonnen, there is no debate that Tsarukyan has earned the opportunity.
You then have Tsarukyan. Tsarukyan's got a couple of things going for him. First off, we know he's good enough to be a #1 contender. We know he's good enough for fight for a title. That's undisputable considering he signed a contract making him the #1 contender, and he signed a contract that was going to allow for him to fight for a title. He then did the next best thing, which he was a backup fighter, which means 1/10 of a pound the wrong way on the scale, and he's going in. So it doesn't leave any room to argue that he is not a reasonable choice.
However, Chael suggested that with so many legitimate contenders in the mix, the UFC is unlikely to take the straightforward route.
In a situation like this, if it were WWE, do you know what the right answer would be? Now, we just saw this. We just saw this at WrestleMania, and yes, you got to be a little bit of a wrestling fan to stay with me on this, but do you know what the correct answer that the WWE would have gone with when you end up in a position where you've got Tsarukyan, you got Gaethje, you got Patty the Batty, all on an equal level, all arguing, and all having a rightful claim to the same thing.
In fact, he argued that when the promotion has multiple good options for a title fight, it often pivots to the unexpected. Borrowing from the WWE playbook, Chael said the UFC was heavily influenced by WWE, so it is very likely that they followed the same footsteps. In this case, Sonnen predicted that the UFC could very well go with Dan Hooker as the choice for the title shot.
Patty's got it through the mandate of the masses. Justin Gaethje's got it because he's done enough favors and now he wants one back. Tsarukyan's got it because he's had not one but 2 contracts. Do you know what the WWE would do? They would go with Dan Hooker. That's what the answer would have been. They would build it in a direction no different than they did WrestleMania. WrestleMania, for that entire building that was there, it was a debate between two. Was it going to be Roman or was it going to be Punk? And therefore, because the debate was between Roman and Punk, they went with Seth.
Meanwhile, MMA Red Corner on Twitter dropped another exciting rumor surrounding the UFC's Qatar card in November. According to their claim, Arman Tsarukyan is being lined up to face Dan Hooker in the main event scheduled for November 22nd. In support of this, James Lynch discussed and backed the rumored clash between Dan Hooker and Arman Tsarukyan, clarifying that the fight has not yet been officially signed. However, he noted that if outlets are already reporting on it, then something is likely in the works. He backed up the news by pointing out that Red Corner MMA has been reliable in breaking stories like this before.
Arman Tsarukyan will be taking on Dan Hooker on November 22nd as part of the Qatar card. This according to Red Corner MMA. Red Corner MMA is a pretty legit outlet there. Again, this is not signed, not official yet, but if they're reporting that this fight's in the works, there's got to be something to it here. So really, really big fight. And this kind of makes sense if you're looking at the rankings and trying to figure out what's happening next. There's still people out there, for whatever reason, who think that Arman is going to be fighting Ilia Topuria next. I know he was the backup for the last title fight, but that was never happening. Arman was going to have to fight someone else. We know the whole debacle at UFC 311. That was something that has been pretty vocal. And this also probably means, I would assume, if this fight does come to fruition, that we're going to be getting Ilia Topuria and Patty Pimblett, because I don't know who else Ilia Topuria would fight.
Echoing the sentiment, Chael Sonnen doubled down on this point, adding that Tsarukyan versus Hooker simply feels right. He argued that this is the kind of matchup that should have been in the conversation all along, suggesting it carries both competitive merit and fan appeal.
He should have been. That fight feels right. Tsarukyan versus Hooker. That feels right. How did we not discuss this? And none of you take credit. I read all the comments. None of you step in here and try to go, I've suggested that. No, you haven't. Nobody suggested that. Hooker has been the odd man out in that game of musical chairs from the beginning, which is what makes him the right answer, which, by the way, if Hooker was to get a win over Tsarukyan, there would be a very clear wind blowing.
However, Joe Rogan weighed in on a potential clash between Arman Tsarukyan and Ilia Topuria, noting that Topuria would likely enter as the favorite given a string of dominant knockouts inside the octagon. Brendan Schwab added to the discussion, arguing that if there's one point everyone can agree on, it's that Tsarukyan's boxing doesn't match the level of Topuria's. Brendan Schwab highlighted the close, contested matchup, stating that he would not bet money on this fight because it could be anybody's game.
So he doesn't train MMA jiu-jitsu, he trains jiu-jitsu with jiu-jitsu guys. So he trains with elite jiu-jitsu guys, elite wrestlers, he wrestles with elite wrestlers, boxes with elite boxers, does everything and then puts it all together himself.
Yeah. I mean, that is the way to do it.
But if it's like
mixing it together off the bat.
Yeah, I
Right.
think so.
Interesting how some camps don't do that. You go there and, you know, you have everybody's doing MMA.
Yeah.
He's like entering into jiu-jitsu spaces, training there, entering into boxing spaces.
I think it's
And
smarter
because
way
of
to do
that, like, we all know that the boxing in boxing is at a higher level than the
Than it is
boxing in
in
the
MMA.
UFC.
Arman's his toughest fight, and he's still a favorite in the fight, but it's his toughest fight. But if you're Ilia and you're his team, you're like, all right, Patty or Arman? Arman's a problem. And Patty, it is what it is. He has a little more clout than Arman. So even though Arman's ranked #1, if I'm Ilia, give me Patty. I make way more money. Let's say he fights Arman. Say you were to lose, then that Patty fight, you ain't making the same money. So I'm doing exactly what Ilia's doing. Unfortunately for Arman, I'm doing exactly what he's doing.
Additionally, Joe Rogan highlighted the stylistic contrast between the two fighters, noting that Arman Tsarukyan has shown knockout ability through his striking tools, particularly with his knees and kicks. In contrast, Rogan pointed out that Ilia Topuria brings a unique kind of power and blistering speed carried up from the featherweight division, making him a dangerous opponent in striking exchanges. He pointed towards Ilia's recent fights where he has been knocking out the biggest names in UFC.
They had to go out there and knock out
knock
Charles
somebody,
Oliveira
yeah.
with one punch. That was wild, man. That dude has power.
He looked good on the floor too. He was
He's a
Very
good, like,
good.
I,
Very good.
man, I saw, like I said, I saw footage of him and Marab wrestling. Like, you know, I don't know
Oh,
where
yeah.
they were, and I didn't see anybody get caught in this video, but like Ilia just seemed to be one step ahead in the wrestling exchanges, you know. So he's at least on Marab's level, and Marab's a savage. So.
You know what he does? It's really interesting. He talked about it on the podcast. He trains each sport individually, and then he puts them all together.
Meanwhile, Islam Makhachev didn't hold back when speaking on Ilia Topuria, accusing the lightweight champion of ducking Arman Tsarukyan. Makhachev argued that Tsarukyan has earned the right to fight for the belt, pointing to his impressive win streak, his consistent preparation in the gym, and even the fact that he had made weight as the backup for the Topuria versus Oliveira bout. According to Islam, those efforts prove Tsarukyan deserves a shot at gold.
Я хотел задать вопрос Исламу. Считаешь ли ты Армана самым серьезным соперником для Ильи? И не кажется ли тебе, что Топурия избегает его?
Ну, что избегает, не секрет. Я уже видел там баталии в интернете, где он говорит, я лучше завершу карьеру, чем буду с ним драться. И я думаю на данный момент, что Арман набрал хорошие обороты, и это самый серьезный экзамен для чемпиона.
Adding to that, referee John McCarty weighed in, stating that Arman Tsarukyan is the toughest stylistic challenge for Ilia Topuria. However, he suggested the UFC may already be setting the stage for something bigger, an eventual clash between Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev should Islam get past Jack Della Maddalena. McCarty argued that the promotion sees this potential showdown as the closest thing to recreating the massive hype of a Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov type rivalry.
I'm going to be, Ilia Topuria has, done a couple of, I think that, that's the hardest fight for Ilia.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. But I think that, the UFC is setting this up to where they would like to have Ilia versus Islam if Islam can get past JDM. You take a look, that's a big money fight. That's in my opinion, it's getting close. I'm not saying it's going to match it, but it's getting close to a Conor versus Khabib. You've got a lot of, variety to it. You got these guys that come from different areas, but kind of this, racially same kind of background where,
Moreover, John added that if there is one fighter capable of spoiling the UFC's plan to build its most heavily monetized event, it's Arman Tsarukyan. According to McCarty, Tsarukyan has the tools and the potential to derail Ilia Topuria, making him the biggest obstacle to the promotion's long-term vision.
I just think that they're looking at that. If I can have an undefeated Ilia Topuria taking on Islam Makhachev at 170 pounds, I can sell the hell out of that. And that's kind of what they're looking for. So I think if there's one person to spoil that, it's Arman Tsarukyan.
Yeah, I saw some comments from Habib basically saying that he doesn't think Ilia gets past Arman.
Really?
Because stylistically, it's just a really bad matchup for him.
A hard one.
At the same time, Joe Rogan pointed out that Arman Tsarukyan is notoriously hard to hit clean, let alone knockout, while also being an outclassed wrestler with elite control. Rogan added that Tsarukyan may even be too big for the division, which could give him a significant weight and size advantage over Ilia Topuria.
He's so jacked and so mobile, more than I think anybody I've ever seen. He was doing this flexibility routine. You're like, this is insane. Arman is big.
Man,
He's big. When I stand next to him, I cannot believe he makes 155. He's very muscular, very dense, and very lean. And so for him to make 155, it must be an absolutely brutal weight cut.
Good boy, good boy. Better than Ilia.
On the other hand, Brennan Schwab, however, countered Rogan's argument by stressing that Tsarukyan struggled against Charles Oliveira, whereas Ilia went on to dominate and batter Oliveira, highlighting difference in how each man handled the same opponent.
If I'm the UFC and my only goal is to make Topuria the face of the UFC and build his star and sell out stadiums and sell merch and, get this new TV rights deal and get as much eyeballs as possible, you do Paddy Topuria, and you Justin Gaethje Topuria, and then Tsarukyan's last. Paddy Topuria's the fight. No brainer. Strike with iron's hot, make as much money as possible, get the most views possible. If you're the UFC though, and you do Paddy Topuria, it's a win-win, dude. It's a sold-out giant stadium Europe somewhere or Spain, whatever you want to do. Put in Spain, put in the UK, whatever you want to do. It's selling out. You're getting the huge fan base on it.
Moreover, Josh Thompson weighed in by highlighting that Arman Tsarukyan is the type of fighter who can push the pace for a full 5 rounds, capable of competing both on the ground and on the feet. In contrast, he described Ilia Topuria as composed and relaxed, with excellent boxing and solid wrestling. However, Thompson emphasized that while Topuria's wrestling is effective, it is not on the same level as Tsarukyan's.
Arman can push hard for 5 rounds. Arman can wrestle better than anyone Ilia's fought. He's got power in the hands. Ilia's composed, stays relaxed, got great boxing, he's got good wrestling as well. I don't think it's Arman's level of wrestling.
Probably not.
Physical size wise, I give it to Arman. The power in the hands, probably Ilia. For the stature of it all, but Arman can pop as well.
Yeah, but Ilia throws much tighter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And cleaner shots, so you got to give the stand-up to Ilia.
But that grind in the wrestling, that will start to wear in the arms. That'll start to take the power away a little bit, or at least the explosiveness that's going to get it there. And how many rounds can Arman take him down and hold him down to frustrate him and get him out of his game?
On the other hand, Renato Moicano expressed skepticism about Arman Tsarukyan's chances against Ilia Topuria. He described Tsarukyan as arrogant, noting that their personalities clash. Moicano added that Tsarukyan carries himself as if he is above everyone else, which is why he hopes to see Arman lose.
Arman Tsarukyan, eu não acho ele bom do jeito que a galera fala. Eu acho que o Topuria ia fuder ele. Eu não tenho nada contra ele, mas eu também não gosto dele, entendeu? Eu não tenho nada contra ele. Não é um cara que eu seria amigo, entendeu? Não é um cara que eu seria amigo. Porque... eu não sei, eu acho ele arrogante, entendeu? Eu acho ele arrogante. Eu não gosto de pessoas que se acham melhores do que as outras, entendeu? Porque você pode ser melhor do que outra pessoa, certamente.
Não pode deixar evidenciado isso, né?
Não, você pode ser em algum aspecto, entendeu? Não é porque você é um melhor lutador do que o outro lutador que você é melhor que ele moralmente, entendeu? O que é a moral? A gente vai ter que debater o que é moral. Moral é você fazer o que é certo quando não tem ninguém olhando. E eu não acho que o cara é moral quando ele trata outra pessoa de maneira...
Moreover, Khabib Nurmagomedov praised Arman Tsarukyan's wrestling, emphasizing that his sharp elbow strikes could provide a decisive edge against Ilia Topuria. He added that if the two had faced each other earlier in their careers, the outcome might have been different. At this stage, however, Khabib estimates that Tsarukyan holds an 80% chance of coming out on top.
За счет ММА стиля. Но это не вольная борьба. Но будет проходить, да? Арман может повалить, у него хорошие локти в партере. Очень хорошие локти. Они такие у него, хорошо заходят. Может бороться, разбаривать, спину забирать. А вот в эту опасную дистанцию с Топурией просто не зайдет. Не зайдет, слишком уже есть бои, он уже может посмотреть, изучить. Если в начале где-то они как-то дрались бы, может быть, у него был бы шанс. Я, например, 80/20, я вижу победителем.
He also noted that Ilia still hasn't faced an opponent with elite-level grappling skills like Arman.
Я вижу победителем Армана. Я считаю, что его борьба, его прессинг, его говорить, это тоже надо учитывать. Он выше него почти на 10 сантиметров, если не ошибаюсь. И он больше него весом, и в день боя он будет больше него. По всем параметрам я вижу, что... и, конечно, борьба, она всегда рулила. Особенно, когда такие бои бывают. Мы все знаем, какая борьба у Холлоуэя и какая борьба у последний Чарльз Оливер. У них ее практически нет. Они ударники. Они пошли на рожон и хапнули свое. А человек, который взял ногу, поборолся, взял корпус, поборолся. С такими он не дрался, он дрался со всеми ударниками.
Meanwhile, Dan Hooker had already positioned himself as the only fighter ready to take on that challenge, emphasizing that a victory over him would instantly put Arman Tsarukyan back in the heart of the title picture.
That makes sense. That's called his name. Like the champion said that he's not going to fight him. No one else has spoken his name. He's the Voldemort of the lightweight division. No one wants to call the guy out because he's a prick too. Because he's just gonna whine and not say anything witty. He's no fun. He's like arguing with a blank wall.
Yeah, I can't
He's not
imagine.
got me once. He's not got me once. He's not got under my skin once. Like, call me a... Cry me a river.
I can't imagine that fight week.
However, Khamzat Chimaev doesn't think Arman needs to fight anyone but for the title. He voiced his support for Arman Tsarukyan, saying he wants the showdown with Ilia Topuria to happen. He explained that Tsarukyan does not need to prove anything and should go straight for the title. Since both fighters are among the elite, the only true way to settle the debate is by fighting.
We know you're kind of friends with Ilia too, and you're friends with Arman. Do you see them fighting this year?
I hope so. It's a good fight for the both guys. So fighting is, as me, it's like we need to know who is the best fighter in the world. So both guys is best fighters. So I will be happy to watch that fight. Yeah, it's a crazy fight. Arman is good moves. Like he has a good kick, good wrestling, and the other guy has a good jiu-jitsu, a good puncher. So it will be cool to watch that fight.
In addition, James Lynch added that if a fight between Arman Tsarukyan and Dan Hooker does come to fruition, he would lean toward Arman taking the victory. He explained that Tsarukyan is younger, fresher, and has absorbed less damage in his career, while Hooker appears to be on the downward slope at this stage.
Interesting fight. As far as a pick in this one, I'm going with Arman. Younger, taking less damage. Arman is one of the best lightweights in the world. I think Dan Hooker has done a great run, had a great turnaround since his last fight, but let's not forget his last two fights were split decisions, a little bit closer for comfort, whereas Arman's coming off a pretty dominant victory over Charles Oliveira. I know it was split as well, but I felt like Arman clearly won that fight. I know there's some people out there who felt like Charles should have won, but I feel like he's looked a little bit more dominant, finished Dariush, finished Silva.
At the end of the day, the lightweight division feels like it's on the verge of absolute chaos. Islam Makhachev is calling out Ilia Topuria, Chael Sonnen is hinting at WWE-style matchmaking, and rumors are swirling about Tsarukyan versus Hooker headlining in Qatar. Whether the UFC sticks to the earned path and gives Arman Tsarukyan his long-awaited title shot, or swerves toward a blockbuster clash between Topuria and Makhachev, one thing is clear: the next few months could reshape the entire landscape of two divisions. So if you enjoyed the news, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more because we bring you the latest updates daily. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Who do you think Arman will fight?